contacted the defendant.
What was the primary reason you went back out there with especially?
To ask more specific questions as to the information he gave us. And I also wanted him to provide a written statement as to the information he gave me the evening before.
Are we talking about 12 hours later, you're back out at that location on Marquette Road in Goodos?
A little less than 12 hours, yes.
A little less than 12 hours.
I think it was about 10:30 in the morning I was out there.
Okay. Was anybody there for you to speak with?
Yes, I talked to the defendant.
Talk to the defendant again?
Yep.
Where did you talk to him?
On his front porch.
Did you see the motorcycle again?
Yes.
Was anybody else there while you were talking?
Nobody was right with us. I don't remember if his father might have been there at the door when I first showed up, but nobody was with us when we talked this time like the night before, no.
Was the woman that you'd seen previously, was she there?
No.
By the way, I want to go back to that night before. I asked you if you interviewed her, you indicated no. Is that right?
Correct.
Do you recall if you gathered biographical information about her? Who she was, how old she was, things of that sort?
No, we didn't get that type of information from her that night, no.
Was she out there the whole time you were talking with her?
Yeah, she came out.
Not to her, to Mr. Vancallis.
She came out right after he came out onto the porch. She came out, the dad came out, he came out, and she came out with him, followed him out.
And so the discussion takes place on the porch primarily that night?
Yes.
Was she standing by Mr. Vancallis' side that night?
I think him and his father, there were chairs a couple of chairs on the front porch. If I remember, they both were sitting in a chair. Mr. Vancallis, the defendant, was off to the right on the porch and sitting in a chair. She just kind of squatted down next to him.
She squatted down next to him?
Yeah, that's where she was during it.
So going back now to the about 12 hours, 11 and a half, 12 hours later, you're there, you don't see her that day?
No.
And did you ask your questions that you wanted to ask, or were you just trying to get a written statement, or what was it?
I think the first thing I asked him was, I told him I was wondering if he had time to come into the office and provide a written statement on the information that he gave us the night before. At that time, he told us he was kind of busy, that he had some things he had to go take care of, possibly at his sister's or for his sister in the Richmond, New Haven area, and that he might be available in the afternoon.
Did you indicate part of what you were looking for was a written statement about?
Yeah, I told him that.
Did you indicate whether or not you were looking for more detail at all? Did you use words like that? You're trying to get a more detailed account, or is that something that I'm suggesting?
No, I don't think I told him I was looking for a more detailed account. The first thing it was is basically I wanted to get a written statement on what he had told me the night before.
Okay. And he indicated to you what you just said?
Correct.
How long were you there?
We were there for a little bit. Since he wasn't going to come and give a written statement at that time, I started kind of going over the timeline he had gave me the night before, just to kind of verify things and see if everything, lined back up with the same thing he told me the night before.
And what information did you learn?
He gave me roughly the same information. The only thing I think that was kind of different was he told me when he first left the house, I want to say he told me he left the house that day about 5 o'clock. He was a little more exact. And that when he got about 10 miles away from the house, he turned around because he remembered he forgot his sunglasses. He went back to the house, ended up staying at the house, hanging out with his dad till about 5:30 when he left again. And then proceeded to basically tell me the same thing that he told me the night before.
Did you gain any clarity in terms of what time he had arrived at his brother's house, what time exactly he departed his brother's house, things of that sort?
No, he didn't. He wasn't very clear on any times other than when he left at 5 o'clock, and that he left again back at 5:30. That was the pretty much the most clear he was on times.
So how did you end your interaction with him that day?
Well, I wanted to see the motorcycle again because it was daylight. So we went around to the side of the house again where the motorcycle was. He brought us around to the side of the house. The motorcycle was parked kind of close to the wall. I asked him if he could pull the motorcycle away from the wall just so I can get photos. I didn't want to pull it away because I didn't want to drop it. Then I'd have to pay for it. So I had him pull the bike away from the wall, took a couple more photos of it in the daylight. At that time, I asked him again what time he thinks he would be done with the things he needed to take care of. And he said after a couple hours. I gave him a number and told him if he could call me in the afternoon when he's done, and then, you know, hopefully we can get together and do the written statement. And I told him if it got later in the day, I didn't hear from him, I'll just give him a call. That's how we left it.
That's how you left it?
Yes, sir.
How long were you there?
45 minutes, maybe.
So you saw the motorcycle in the daylight?
Correct.
Have you seen the motorcycle additional times in the daylight, up close,
I've seen...
during the course of the investigation?
Yeah, I've seen it again at that house.
All right. Are you, so if I show you some photographs, you might be able to identify those?
Correct.
22.
I'm going to show you people's proposed 22, 23. Ask if you recognize what these are.
Yep, those are additional pictures of the same motorcycle.
And those are some daylight or daytime pictures of that motorcycle.
Correct.
That's the same motorcycle you saw outside Mr. Muse's the day after the homicide?
Yes, it is.
Same motorcycle you saw on the 25th outside at 11:30 at night?
Correct.
Same motorcycle then you saw on the 26th that Saturday morning at about 10:30, 11 in the morning?
Correct.
I move to admit 22 and 23.
No objection, Your Honor.
Do it good.
So, who was to contact who as you parted ways?
I had asked him to contact me when he was done with the things he indicated he had to take care of. And I basically told him if it got later in the day and I didn't hear from him, I'll just give him a call.
And what was the nature, like, in 20-some years as a state trooper, detective and detective sergeant, you interacted with a lot of people,
Yeah, a lot of people.
You've interviewed people, right?
Yes,
Suspects, witnesses, victims,
yes,
informants, all kinds of people, right?
yes.
What was your interaction with him, the nature of that night you interacted with him, the 25th? Was it friendly? Was it angry? Was it contentious? Was it casual? What was it? How would you describe
No, it was friendly, it was casual. It was just us, you know, asking about, you know, his whereabouts and everything in Armada. It was very casual, very friendly.
And what about the next morning, about 12 hours later, when you asked for the written statement?
It was still friendly. He indicated he was busy, but it was still friendly.
Did you have contact with him then later in the day? If you parted ways and there was supposed to be a phone call, did you have additional contact?
Yes, over the phone.
Who called who?
I initially called him later in the afternoon. There was no answer. I left a message and then received a phone call back from him.
And did that phone call connect?
Yes.
Did you speak to him?
Yes, I did.
And what was that phone call like?
He was very upset to the point where he was irate on the phone. He was yelling at me on the phone, telling me that it was a witch hunt, that we are trying to call and talk to all kinds of people and take people's cell phones. It was just more of an out-of-control type phone call.
sounds different from what had occurred earlier in the morning.
Very different.
Did he at least agree to give you the written statement as he had indicated earlier?
I tried to calm him down on the phone and explain to him that we are investigating a homicide of a young girl, that we have to follow up on every single tip.
All right, so you indicated you had to follow up on every single tip?
Yes.
Did he, I'm trying to ask it in a yes or no fashion, did he ultimately provide you with a written statement?
No.
Is that because you told him you changed your mind?
No.
When you went there the night of the 25th, do you remember where the motorcycle was parked?
On the east side of the house.
Is that in the driveway, on the grass?
It's like the driveway has a circle to it in front of the house, but then it kind of branches off along the east side of the house, and there's like a big cement pad that kind of goes up to the house on the east side as well. So it's all cement there, kind of like a driveway where you can pull right up to the house and park.
And what about the next day when you went there?
I was in the same location on the side of the house.
All right. And do we have those pictures, by the way, just to show the jury the daylight pictures?
22.
Yes, 22, please. So that's a daytime flight. That's 22. You've already testified you recognize that.
Yes.
On the shocks on the front, do you see a particular color of those shocks?
Yes, blue.
And what about the fender in front?
Black.
And then what about over the rear tires?
White.
Do you see a headlight on that motorcycle?
Yes.
And was there also a license plate?
Yes.
Did there come a time then, as days progressed and your investigation continued? By the way, you've already told the jury there were other officers going out and working on tips. Different officers were coming in and briefing the group. Did that effort continue?
The whole time, yes.
Do you know if there was a search of the defendant's residence?
Yes, there was.
Were you part of executing that search warrant?
Yes, I was.
Do you remember when that search warrant, the initial search warrant took place?
I believe it was the following Wednesday, 30th.
Were you part of the, so you're familiar with that property then? Were you out there?
Yes, I was.
And I know you were already there, but did you take a longer and larger and more expansive view of the property when you were executing the search warrant?
Yes.
We have one statement. Were there items seized from the residence on that day?
There were.
Do you know if, do you know if the motorcycle helmet was seized that day that
It
you've
was.
already testified to?
Yes, it was.
The K-Swiss shoes?
Yes.
Now, were there a number of officers there that day?
There was a large number, yes.
Judge, I think I'm moving to admit without objection people's proposed 24 through 29.
No objection on behalf of the defense, Your Honor.
Could you display 24, please? Could you describe what that is?
That would be the Vancallis residence.
And you talked about it's like a circle drive and a drive that circled around. Tell the jury where that motorcycle was when you went out there.
This would be the circle drive from the roadway down here, circles up around. This would be the pad. I was talking about how this driveway comes around. There's the cement pad that just drives right up to the house right here. The bike was parked over in this location where you see this SUV.
Okay. This is 25. What is that?
This is the west side of the house, so the street would be to the north of this picture. It's the west side of the house. There's a pen here, and this is just a area where it seemed like a lot of trash had been being dumped for a long time. There was a large amount of trash on the side of the house.
Okay. 26. What is that?
That is the rear of the house. It's a deck. This is outside of a bathroom that goes to a master bedroom up here, the kitchen area. This is a pendant area where there's some pigs in this area here.
That's literally a pig pen, correct?
Yeah, that's one right there.
Did you go into that area yourself and actually search that area?
I did, during a second search warrant of the house, I did go in that area.
So there was a second search warrant executed, correct?
Correct.
All right. But you were familiar with that location from the first date?
Yes.
27. You talked about something on the side of the house earlier. Is this a closer up view of that?
It is.
What is it?
That's just an area to the, on the west side of the house, a large amount of area where trash had been being dumped. It appeared for a while.
28. Do you recognize that again?
Yeah, that's be the bottom of the case was tennis shoes.
And those were actually seized on the date of this search warrant?
Yes, they were, on the 30th.
And then 29. What is that?
That would be the east side of the house. That's an SUV that was parked there. This is that cement pad area I was talking about that goes right up to the house there. And this would be the bike that we've discussed already.
All right. How long were officers out there on that day?
Several hours.
Were other officers seizing other items?
Yes,
Were there photographs of the interior of the home taken?
I believe so, yes. Entire photograph of the whole inside of the house.
In fact, was Chief Smith one of the individuals out there?
Yes, he was.
Other FBI personnel, other state police personnel?
Several people.
Did you yourself follow up in any way on that time information? So you've asked questions already about timing. When were you where?
Correct.
And you were given some generalized times by the defendant the first time you spoke to him and the second time you spoke to him. I don't think you got any times in that phone call, right?
No, there were no times in the phone call.
All right. And did you try to follow up yourself with any of that information as it relates in particular to Donald Vancallis?
I never interviewed Donald Vancallis. There were other detectives then at that point were sent out to interview Donald Vancallis and follow up on the information that the defendant provided.
Do you recall if you made contact with, in fact, Donald Vancallis' boss?
I did have come to a time where I talked to Donald Vancallis' boss over the phone,
And I don't want to know what he said, but I want to know what the purpose of that was.
To verify times that Donald Vancallis had left work on that day.
And was that individual cooperating with you?
Yes, he was.
Do you remember his name, by the way? If I said Billiau or Billau, does that sound familiar?
It does. I'm not sure how you pronounce it, and I wouldn't be able to spell it without looking, but that would be the name.
That gentleman was cooperating.
Yes, he was.
Did you continue to assist as requested throughout the investigation?
Yes.
And at that point, you were not a detective sergeant, you were a detective trooper.
Correct.
Were you directing the investigation?
I was not directing the investigation.
And you indicated you participated in the second search warrant of the residence?
Yes, I did.
Okay, one moment, Judge. During the course of your investigation, did you become familiar with the crime scene?
Yes, I did.
Did you become familiar with the location, generally speaking, where the phone, April Millsap's phone was found?
Yes, I did.
Did you become familiar with the Marathon station
Yes, I did.
and where April lived?
Yes.
All right, I am going to show you what I've shown to counsel as People's Proposed 30, and ask you to really take a look at it. Tell me if you recognize what I'm being depicted.
Yes, I do.
And what is it?
It's a blown up map of the area of the village of Armada, as well as expanded out a few miles to the whole surrounding area.
I'm going to ask you to come down and ask you. I move to admit 30.
We have no objection, Your Honor, but may I stand over here so I can see it? I'm assuming you're
And
pointing
you
at yours.
Sheik, you can stand wherever you want.
Thank you.
All right. We'll make sure all the jurors can see it.
You're fine.
So we've got a map, correct? Correct. A satellite image, frankly, of the map.
Correct.
You've got some points that you've indicated you're familiar with. Would you indicate what they are, just for our record? I know they can all see it, but...
Yes, starting over here, this thicker white line that goes through this Armada Ridge Road.
Okay.
That runs from Armada over to Richmond. This is James Muse's home.
So James Muse's home, that's the location where that Mustang is next to the motorcycle.
Right, the first time I saw the motorcycle, this would be that location.
That's where you saw it.
Correct.
Okay.
This is the trail, the walking trail.
You familiar with that as the Macomb Orchard Trail?
Macomb Orchard Trail, correct.
You see it going basically from the edge of the map all the way
To this
to
edge.
that, and continues both ways out.
Correct.
Okay.
This would be the crime scene where the victim was found on that Orchard Trail, Macomb Orchard Trail. This would be Olmo Road here.
Olmo Road?
Yep, Olmo Road.
And for our orientation, north?
North, correct.
South?
Correct.
East? West?
Yes. This would be, the location here is a driveway to a residence. That's where the phone was located, the victim's phone. Was located right off of the roadway there in brush area. As you come in Armada here, just outside the center, right off a block off the center of Armada, you have the Marathon gas station that we indicated. Just down the street from that, you have the victim's residence. And then Armada Ridge Road continues outside of town going west, southwest, and you have the
defendant's brother's home down at Vancallis' home over here.
So give us, I don't know how familiar you are with the area outside of this map. I know you've become very familiar with this before because of this investigation. Could you give us a general idea of where the defendant resided?
If the map were extended out, the defendant would reside out like this way.
Okay.
For the record, could you indicate?
North, it would be northeast of the map.
Thank you, sir.
Northeast.
And Marathon, why is that? Marathon, is that indicated because, or is that in there because the defendant indicated he went there?
Yes, it is.
Do you recognize this to be Armada right here?
This would be the village of Armada, yeah.
I'll pass the witness. Yeah. I'm going to pass the witness.
Okay, anytime you guys need a break, let me know. Shut.
Good afternoon, Detective. How are you?
Good afternoon, sir. Doing well.
First of all, I want to commend you. I don't know if it's your preparation or your recollection, but it seems to be excellent, and it's facilitating this moving on. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
I wish more witnesses for that. I'm going to ask you a few questions just to make sure that I've got everything right, okay?
Okay.
I know about July 24, 2014, you worked for the Michigan State Police, correct?
Correct.
You got, I think, what us lay people sometimes call a Volvo BMW for some information that they were interested in doing by motorcycles, correct?
Not till the 25th.
Not till the 25th, okay.
Correct.
So when you got that, you happened to see a motorcycle parked outside what you later found out to be Mr. Moose's house, correct?
Correct.
And you took a picture of it.
Yes, I did.
You did not approach the house to see who was there or not or anything, correct? At that
No,
time?
not at that time.
Okay. And then, based on follow-up and in consultation with your colleagues, you decided to go back to find out who the homeowner was and find out about the bike, correct?
Correct.
And as soon as you got back, I believe you did find Mr. James, correct?
We did.
And he did indicate to you that he was a long-term good personal friend of Mr. James Vancallis, correct?
He did.
And he also told you where he lived or whatever contact information you needed regarding Mr. James Vancallis, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Once you got that information, you went to Mr. James Vancallis' home, correct? Not right away, but when you did.
Right, eventually that evening, yes.
Eventually that evening, you went to Mr. Vancallis' house. And when you went to Mr. Vancallis' house, to the best of your recollection, he opened the door, correct? He answered the door?
No, his father.
His father said, okay. And then when you asked for Mr. James Vancallis Jr., he came to the door, or came to you, correct?
Yeah, he eventually came out to the door, correct. His father called for him in the house and he came to the door.
All right, so just because, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, are listening to every word, when you say eventually, there was no hesitation on his part. You just mean you knocked, the senior Vancallis answered, he said, hey, come here, Jimmy, and he came, correct?
Correct.
So eventually was not meant to say there was any kind of stalling on his part, correct?
No.
Okay, so he came to the door and he fully admitted that he was James Vancallis, correct?
Yes, he did.
Okay, you asked him about his activities, he told you he had been in Armada, correct?
Yes, he did.
That time, okay. You told him you were talking to him about a blue and white motorcycle, he said, yes, I have one, and there it is, correct?
Yes, he did.
Okay. Did you ask him about a helmet?
I believe I asked him what he was wearing that day.
Okay, and he told you what he was wearing?
described what he was wearing.
Okay, and I think you indicated, sir, and I think I jumped ahead a little bit, but when you're talking to him, Mr. Vancallis Jr., Sr., and Crystal Stadler are talking to you out on the front porch, correct?
They are.
Okay. Crystal Stadler, just for the sake of the record, is the young lady that came out that was squatting down next to him when he's talking to you. Did you find that out subsequently?
I did, yes.
At that time, you didn't know that, correct?
No, I didn't know who she was. James Muse had said he lives there with his girlfriend and their kids, so when she came out, was next to him, roughly the same age, kind of put two and two together.
Okay, so would you have any reason that, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, should think that that female you saw that day was not Crystal Stadler?
No?
So in the presence of Crystal Stadler, he showed you the helmet, correct?
Yes, he did.
The shoes,
Yes.
some clothes, correct?
No.
No clothes?
No, he didn't show any clothes.
Okay, did you ask him for any clothes?
I don't believe we asked him to bring the clothes out, no.
Okay. Did you ask him for anything that he refused in any way, shape, or manner at that point, at that time?
No.
Okay. He admitted he told you he went to his brother Johnny's, right?
Correct.
He told you he went to the Tim Hortons in Romeo, but didn't go in because he didn't see his brother's car, correct?
Correct.
He also told you that he went by Mr. Muse's house, and Mr. Muse wasn't home, so he didn't actually go in, correct?
Correct.
He also indicated to you that when he left, approximately 10 minutes after his departure, he came back to the house because he forgot his sunglasses, correct?
Yeah, he actually said about 10 miles. He didn't get a time. Yeah, he said about 10 miles out. I don't know if you remember 10 miles, that he came back, yes.
I stand corrected, you're right. Now, also, there were some, you probably remember from the exam, there were some indications that he wasn't sunglasses, but it was something to do with the toothbrush, right? Electric toothbrush? For his brother Johnny?
Yeah, I was asked that in the exam. I didn't hear anything at that point. He didn't tell me anything about a toothbrush. I know that came up later in the investigation, but at that time when I asked him, he said it was sunglasses.
Okay, and it's neither here nor there, but because there's no sunglasses or toothbrush that is tied to this case forensically, so it's really inconsequential what it was, right? For the most part.
Correct.
He forgot something, he went back to retrieve it,
I
right?
forgot something, went back home.
And when he did, he decided to engage with his father for a few moments, until closer to 5:30, and then he left, right?
That's what he explained, yes.
And you chose not to photograph anything, correct? I mean, did you, at that point, did you photograph?
When are we talking about?
The first conversation that you had with him when you go out to the house, did you photograph the helmet at that point?
Yes.
Oh, okay, I stand corrected. What was it that you didn't photograph?
We photographed the helmet, we photographed the shoes and the bike that night.
Okay, and you did this all in presence of the senior Mr. Vancallis and Mr. Stadler as well, correct?
I believe they were both still out there. I don't recall if his father had went in the house at some point.
But Stadler, Miss Stadler stayed by her man, right?
Yeah, I believe she was still out there on the porch.
Okay, and at any time did you ask to take a photograph of anything and you were told not to?
No,
At any time did you ask to take anything with you forensically and were told not to?
no,
At any time did you ask to examine anything and were told not to or shown any hesitation that you could not?
no.
Did they ever, okay. Did you come to find out, we saw the pictures and, you know, all that garbage and everything else on the pigs, and did you, or the pigs, did you notice if there was any dogs there at that house as well?
Yes, there were dogs.
And do you remember approximately how many?
Three?
That could have been more, right?
Not a lot more. I do recall 3 dogs, 2 larger dogs, and I recall a small dog, I believe in a little pen inside the kitchen.
Okay, and just so the record's clear, you were not there for any purposes of finding out how many dogs they had or what type, or dogs were, you weren't there to take inventory of any kind of dogs at that point, correct?
No.
Okay, so if there were more, you weren't looking for them and didn't see them, correct?
Correct.
So would it stand to reason, based on your knowledge of this area, that the field or the house outside, as you come through the house, might have some dog feces on it? Did you have to watch for some, or did you remember seeing any, or?
Not that I recall being that was a focal point for me at that time. I mean, there was
Much
more
more
going on that I was focused on.
Okay. But it wouldn't be unusual to see a house with 3 or more dogs and maybe some feces or some body waste of the dogs in the yard, right?
I would think it was unusual.
You would almost expect it, right?
Depends how often someone cleans up after their dogs.
Okay, but if it's a rural area, they're probably going to let them out as opposed to walk them and then let them back in, right?
Again, there was a pen. I don't know if they kept the dogs in the pen, if they let them run loose out there. I'm not really sure how they did it.
Did you in fact then later follow up and see if Mr. Vancallis' motorcycle was seen at the marathon? in Armada?
Did I follow up
Yeah,
personally?
did you see the video from the gas station?
I know there was video obtained from the gas station that I did review. I did not retrieve that video, but yes, there was video retrieved.
And then you did review it at least once, right?
Yes, I did.
I think you indicated that not too long after your direct involvement with this case came to a conclusion. Is that correct? In other words, is there anything else that you had to do with this case other than after you got that stuff? Well, you're not the OIC, correct?
I am not the OIC,
You're
no.
not the co-OIC, correct?
No.
Okay. Did you subsequently go to Donald's house and interview him or other people?
I did not interview Donald. I did, in the meantime, there were other tips, obviously, coming in. There were some other tips that I went out on and followed up and made contact with other people, yes.
Okay. Now, a lot has been made of the fact that when you first showed up, Mr. Vancallis was, first of all, cooperative and giving you everything that you asked for, correct?
Correct.
By way of information and substances. And same thing the second time when you were in bed, correct?
Correct.
And then when you again talked to him on the phone, he said he's busy, he had some things to do, he couldn't give you a statement, and he might come in later, correct?
No, he said that the second time I contacted him on Saturday morning, when I contacted him on the phone, was when he wasn't very friendly.
Okay, and that's when he was irate and indicated something about this, a witch hunt, and
Correct.
you're taking everybody's cell phones and everything, correct?
Correct.
It's not illegal not to talk to the police, is it?
No,
It's not illegal to not make a written statement, is it?
no, it's not legal.
And nothing that he said in the two statements to you was, there was any discrepancy. We had this little thing about the sunglasses and toothbrush, but other than that, he basically indicated each time, yes, I went to the private Marathon gas station. I went by Muse's house, he wasn't home. I went by Donnie's house, he wasn't home. I went to Tim Horton's, and I went back to Donnie's house, hung out, and got home about 9 o'clock. So is that pretty much what he told you both times?
Yeah, both statements were pretty close in the facts, yes.
And did you in fact go out and seek the video from the Tim Hortons and Romeo to see if in fact the defendant had been there or not?
I did not go out and seek any video. We have people text that do that more on a regular basis. They were tasked with that.
Okay, and he did indicate to you that he had not run in the Romeo Tim Horton right from the beginning, correct?
Yeah, I believe he said he rode through the parking lot, is what he said, and he didn't see his brother there.
Okay, and so he left, he never went.
Correct.
If you remember, sir, did he indicate to you he was wearing camouflage pants? Does that ring a bell?
That's what he told me.
Okay. An old pair of white K-Swiss tennis shoes?
Yes.
A dark hoodie?
A hoodie, I think he might have said dark, said it was a Carhartt, and it said Carhartt down the sleeve,
Okay, and a black helmet,
on
correct?
the black helmet.
Now, did you come to find out that shortly after that motorcycle, that helmet, those clothes and those shoes were taken into custody?
No,
I mean, you didn't take them, but they were
I don't
actually...
believe all that stuff was taken. I think we weren't able to locate the hoodie.
Okay, well, at least the helmet, the motorcycle, and the shoes came into the police inventory, correct?
Correct. Those were taken at that search warrant on the 30th.
Okay, do you know if they were sent for testing by the Michigan State Police or anywhere? Were they sent anywhere for any forensic testing?
I believe they were. I don't know the details of it, though.
So you don't know if any blood, any fiber, any leads and stuff, foliage, anything like that came back on either the tires of the motorcycle or the helmet or the shoes, correct?
I'm not aware of any of those results, no.
Well, it would be really important, though, in an investigation. Not that it's wrong that you don't know, but it is important, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. And to the best of your knowledge, have all three of those things remained in the custody of the police since then? If you know.
To the best of my knowledge, they do.
In part of your training, did you ever have to go to the, not the Reed Institute or whatever you call that, Reed School of Interrogation and Interviewing?
Reed School,
Yes, sir.
first week of February coming up, I'm going.
Okay. Not for the first time.
Yes,
Seriously?
yes.
So I guess it would be futile to ask you about it because you never went, right?
Correct.
Have you had some other interviewing or interrogation
Yes.
training?
I've been in several interview and interrogation trainings, yes.
And it's not unusual to ask a defendant several times or suspect what happened, right?
No, it's not unusual.
Okay. And because you're hoping that there will be some deviation in your story, right? Or at least you're keeping your ears open to pick up for it, correct?
Well, there's different reasons. I mean, that could be one of them why you're gonna ask somebody. You could ask somebody just to be more specific. It's more detailed information that you're gonna follow up on. You know, something that may come up later if they do change their story. Correct.
Okay, and it's not unusual that when you ask a person multiple times, they get a little edgy or they get a little, because they're lay people, they're probably not being used to ask the same thing 5 times. What did you get out? Had coffee, what did you have? Have you found that to be the case where people become a little irritable on multiple askings of same or similar questions?
Not always.
But it does happen, right?
It can.
Okay, so if you went to go see Mr. James Vancallis and he told you everything, kept nothing from you, turned over to you whatever you wanted, allowed you to picture or take whatever you wanted, and you did or you didn't do whatever, did that the second time, and then eventually, when he's finding out that the police is grabbing people's cell phones and all kinds of stuff and just keeping them, and he's like, I'm through. Talk to the that in itself would not be unusual, right, or unheard of. That itself, at that point saying, you know what, I'm done.
I think it is unusual.
You do think it's unusual.
Absolutely.
So you would answer questions 10 times over and over.
If I'm being questioned about the homicide of a young girl, absolutely.
If you've already told everything you know, at that point, would you feel like,
I would keep answering questions. If I can help the police, I would help them.
oh. And if you feel like you've done everything you can, I mean, that's, you know, let's be reasonable. If you feel like you've done everything you can, would you be like, okay, want to keep coming asking me 100 times, I'll keep you.
I'm not going to get upset if the police came back the second time and just asked me to write a written statement on something they have already asked me. I would write a written statement. I'm not changing anything.
Okay, well, did anything in the written statement turn out to be, I mean, in other words, this man didn't deny that that was his motorcycle, right?
He didn't write a written statement.
Well, no, but I mean, in other words, when you did talk to him in the conversations you had with him, he never said, oh my God, they're searching for a murderer in Armada. I better say I've never been to Armada, correct? He said, I was in Armada that night.
Correct.
Okay, I have a blue and white motorcycle, and there it is, right?
Correct.
This is my helmet, this is my shoes, this is my clothes, this is whatever, correct? And he basically...
To an extent.
Okay, and he basically did the same thing the next day, correct?
We didn't ask for the shoes or the helmet the next day. We came over there and I initially asked for a written statement.
Okay,
Which
but
he did not
basically-
want to provide.
Okay, but he basically did reiterate, because you said he said the same things the second time.
Yeah, I continued to ask him some questions before we left to go over what he had told us, yes.
Okay, and I think you said that he could tell you that he left his house approximately about 5, came back 10 miles out, left again about 5:30, and I think, if I remember correctly, you indicated he either was not able to tell you exactly what time he got to the home, or that didn't come out. Is that correct?
Correct.
He got back to his home. And I'm going to just briefly confirm. Let me ask you this. Has it been your experience that sometimes when you ask somebody to write a statement, they hesitate only because, one, maybe their spelling, their ability to write, has that happened in the past? Or maybe they're that trust and haven't told anybody? Now, I'm not saying that's the case here. Have you ever come across that?
I have not.
Never.
No, sir.
And you do get statements sometimes where there's a lot of misspelling and grammatically incorrect sometimes,
Yes,
right?
yes, I have.
And that's not what you're looking for. You're looking for substance.
I'm just looking for that person to give me a statement. If I need to, I always offer, I've had people tell me that they don't spell good. I've offered to them that if they want to tell me exactly their statement, I will write it down. They can review it after and sign that statement if that's a problem.
Okay, now if there is, you know what the allegations in this case are about how April Millsap was attacked, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you know that at least, I don't know if you've seen the video, the animation from the FBI, but the thing took about 10 or 15 minutes for the alleged assault to take place. Would you have expected some exchange in DNA between the parties?
You know what, I'm no objector, Your Honor. I have no idea he has any knowledge in that field.
And I agree, there's been no foundation that he has any knowledge, expertise.
Okay, so I'll pass it. Just put it through. If we were to play that marathon video, would you be able to identify it? The one that you saw, that you reviewed in this case, correct?
Would I know if it's the marathon video?
Yes.
Yeah, I believe so.
You've seen it. Could we play that video, please? Marathon video?
Do you want to have him show up? I mean, the only way we can play it right now is right to the jury, so I think you better have him come back here, look at it, because we're not really supposed to display something to the jury until it's authenticated.
Okay, well, that's fine. If you want to do that, we can have him take a look at it, make sure that's the one that he saw before we play.
Can you use the restrooms anymore while they're doing that? Go ahead, knock your stuff off.
That's fine, somebody's using the right.